Okay, we are good to go.
We're live.
We are.
I'd like to call to order the Properties, Environment, and Economic Development Committee. Roll call, please.
Mr. McCormick?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Erickson?
Here. Minutes of October 24, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Beggs,
Second.
second by McCormick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Will there be any changes to this morning's agenda? Would there be any changes to this morning's agenda? Hearing none, I'll look for an approval of the agenda as written.
I'll make that motion, Hardy.
Support Walker.
Motion by Hardy, support by Walker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Would there be any public comment? No public comment. Judge Stogowski, jury box seating discussion.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you don't know me, I'm Judge Susan Stogowski. We've put in a request for new chairs in the jury box. The reason for that request is that is the number one complaint we get from people that come in and are jurors, is just how uncomfortable those chairs are. And people that come in for jurors, for jury duty, if they're required to be here, it's not a choice people make. It's a duty that people are required to be here. They're required to be here when they're told to be here and to stay for the duration. They're required to sit for, we try to take a break every hour and a half. But they're here for 7 hours a day when they're on jury duty, and it gets quite uncomfortable in those chairs. And so that's the reason behind the request, is we're trying to make it more comfortable for people that are required to be here, required to sit through jury trials. We are doing a lot of jury trials these days. We have, our docket for jury trials is full, and moving forward, I don't expect that to change anytime in the near future. And I just wanted to be here if you had some questions, anything you want to know about what it is. We did submit 3 different bids, looking at some different options. But in general, we're looking for something that's going to be more comfortable for people when they're sitting there all day long. Any questions for me?
3 bids,
Those were the bids that I forwarded on to you.
and they told the top bid was about 25,000.
Nope, it was less than that.
23, I think, was the top bid.
23,000.
Yes.
That was the top. But I don't believe that's the one you selected.
Yeah, I think we selected one that was,
Closer, I believe it was more like 13.
$16 was the estimated cost that we had.
And those weren't pedestal chairs, were they?
They are pedestal chairs. They're stationary chairs. They can't be moved around.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes,
I
sir.
think I saw in the back of that there was a shipping, $1,000 shipping on those also.
1350. Well, maybe I'm looking for one.
I mean, there are several options. We were trying to go with something middle of the road, not the high end and not the low end, something that would be comfortable. So.
Well, Your Honor, we went to the jury box a couple times now, and they've been in disrepair, and they've been in disrepair for years. And the cushions have been neglected, and those have been neglected for years. And Mr. McCormick and I went, we discussed it, and we found a fix to take and make those stable so that they do sit correctly and they don't rock back and hit your head on the wall. I'm kind of ashamed of the condition of the jury chairs and how they've been allowed to get in the condition that they're in. And I did a quick Google search on jury chairs right off the bat and found our chairs was the #1 Google chair. So I looked into that a little bit deeper, and Mr. McCormick and I met with Dave, and we looked at him, and we did put a fix on one of those chairs that makes it completely comfortable and very serviceable, and exactly like a person would purchase if they were looking for, you know, a solid old wing-back chair on a pedestal. It merely needed a rebuilt kit in it. I don't know if you've sat in it yet or looked at it, but the condition of the cushions was just abhorrent. I don't know why they haven't been replaced in the last 15 or 20 years. I don't understand with new modern seating cushions like my mother has in her dining room in the same type chair. They're very appropriate for an hour or two, especially.
But we're not talking about an hour or two, we're talking about all day long.
But with
You get up
breaks.
and you walk around.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
going to my folks and sitting for an hour or two, taking a break and going back, sitting at the table. I would ask, and this is a request that I would make, that we proceed with repair of all those chairs as is, and we purchase a high quality cushion. Some are Velcroed on now, so that they have a non-skid, they don't come off. And if after that repair is in and you try them out and you don't like them, come back to us. Talk about it. But I would then, at that point in time, if we're gonna deem those things unworthy, I would purchase every one of them. And I wouldn't throw them in a dumpster.
It's your decision to make. I'm just letting you
No,
know that we're
no,
making the request because of feedback we get from people in the community.
I would-
And that's why we're making the request. It's your decision to make. If you want to address it any further, that's perfectly acceptable. We're just letting you know what we're hearing from people, and we understand that you make the decision on that, and we're letting you know, so.
I just like to say, I'm embarrassed at the state that they are in, and I apologize for the neglect.
Thank you.
If I may, Your Honor, which one did you guys think was the best?
You know, Tanya and I talked through it, and at the moment, I know that she submitted with #1, and I'm not sure that I have the right one here right in front of me. So, do you have that one?
I'm looking that up, and then I was gonna I'll forward it on to them again.
There's one there with it from the Interphase Interiors that's circled and starred.
Yes,
Is that the one?
that's the one. It was at
Impress
the
Task.
middle one. Here it is, I do have it. It was the #2 on the list, Impress
Okay.
Task Pedestal Base with the arms and the member, and it was 13,838 was the charge on there.
That was, I'm sorry, the number 2, the K162,
Yes, that was the one.
okay. And that one indicates no memory foam.
Yes. It's a polytactile,
Right.
and it's a vinyl chair, so.
I just wondered what the cushion, was the memory
Yeah.
foam available or
I'm happy to look into that.
Mr. Hardy, what's your thoughts? You've been in the furniture office business for all these years.
Well, if my memory serves me right, the jury chairs that we currently have are wood backs, they're slats, you know, which probably is the most comfortable. Certainly like to spend as little money as possible, but also get the results that we need. I mean, cushions for the seat aren't a big issue. I mean, you can get, you know, several places that will make those cushions special for that, with memory foam or whichever you select, and some good fabric. The wood slats on the back, I mean, most of that is okay, but by today's standards, it's probably not the best thing in the world. You know, the mesh backs are certainly more comfortable, depth for temperature and everything else, but, I think maybe try a fix, you know, if we fix 1 or 2, just to start with and test it out and see.
Fix them all.
Don't fix them all, temporarily, and then if that doesn't pan out, the other question, I guess, too, is, did somebody come in and measure I don't know what the spacing is on those seats, and I'm looking at the width on this one, and wondering with the arms if there's actually enough room for clearance there.
And they did come in and measure,
Okay.
and, because they were talking about doing some different things to the podium up there that they're on, and trying to make sure that they would fit on there without a
So that would
completely
be,
new construction project being needed.
would that be new podiums then and have to be moved for?
You know, I think that Tanya went over that with maintenance to
Oh,
figure
okay.
out how to do that, and I wasn't involved in
Okay.
those discussions.
There's a nasty ledge on the far end by the judge's end that would have to be built up to have wider. Joel put a tape measure to it.
Okay, oh. all
Yeah,
right.
it needs a carpenter, it would need demo and reconstruction to be perfectly safe and not end up with a jurist falling off that ledge.
Mr. Hardy, just to kind of fill you in our last meeting, we took a field trip during a break. One of the number one things that we kind of identified is the recline feature is not, there's no lockout, and the spring is weak. So it's all you can do to sit in it and keep yourself upright without flopping over to the back. And so I think that's part of the fix that,
Dave did fix that one that you
so-
had trouble with,
yeah,
and Joel and I both used it, and boy, it's firm and nice.
yeah. So that, you know, that repair will probably go a long ways. It's a core workout. If you're gonna sit there for any length of time, you're gonna have some pretty good abs when you're done. And then, you know, some new cushions, perhaps will make those serviceable again. Granted, they're no office chair, but, I would suspect that those fixes would
Make it more.
limit the complaints on the seating, may not eliminate them, but limit anyway.
Well, I know you can have, you know, there's several, again, upholstery shops around, but you can have special cushions made, and if you use the memory foam, it's by far the best. So with some decent fabric on it, and I mentioned to Joel earlier that you can actually have them sewn Velcro strips on the base side of it, and then they just use a kind of a peel and stick
Right,
matching Velcro on the
yeah,
wood seat portion, so they don't slide or move.
right.
Yeah, I guess we need to it needs to be fixed. So maybe the way to start out is try the new cushions, have maintenance repair or beef up the springs, and then take a look at it, and if that doesn't work, then move forward with something else.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's minimal cost for the county to make a fix on those chairs. And then I think that, you know, we should allow the juries to use them a few times and we see what kind of response we get. But they fit the space, they look good, and I think, you know, with the maintenance work on them, it's the way to go.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gotta run this morning. Thanks.
Department head reports. You guys wanna flip a coin, or?
No, we're just comparing that, that's all. Morning, Gary,
Good morning,
from
Gary.
Indiana County Parks. Lots of stuff going on in parks this winter. We have tomorrow out at Gales Pond at sunset will be the celebration of the winter solstice. So we'll be offering to everybody there that walk through the park, and then we're gonna have a campfire or a bonfire on the parking area and enjoy the beautiful Gales Pond. Speaking of Gales Pond and Doolittle, at the last Parks meeting in October, we engaged with Pam Blau, who is a landscape architect who we've worked with before, to do a review of Gales Pond and Doolittle Park. And the good news is she thinks Gales Pond is one of the neatest little parks she's ever been in. And this is a woman who spent her whole life as a landscape architect in parks. So she was very complimentary of what we have out there. And she looked at me and she said, Gary, what do you think I should do? What should I do? And she said, I don't see anything we need to do. So we need to talk a little bit about ADA accessibility. That's always been on the list, and that will be addressed this spring. And she really liked the things that are going on at Doolittle. I was able to have the Conservation District educator, Terry Wilson, with us. And she pointed out some of the things that the kids are doing, the wee ones and the older ones out at Doolittle. And she was very complimentary of the programming that is being provided by Carrie and her crew out there. So it's a wonderful use of space. There's probably not gonna be a lot of things to do at Doolittle and Gales Pond, but we needed to have a professional review with a person of her caliber. Then we moved over to Cedar Point, and Pam was blown away by Pete Lundborg's handiwork with the walkway and the boardwalk and all the things that have been incorporated there. She's gonna be drawing up some plans that will basically allow ADA accessibility up to the shelter and some other things, amenities that can be added in the lower picnic area. So all in all, it was a great walk in the woods that day, and it was kind of between snowstorms, so it worked out pretty well. Carrie has identified an area prior along Gales Pond. We have Reunion Creek that comes in from Elbridge and basically flows into the pond. And she identified an area that we could consider building a small pathway, which I think this spring we're gonna take a good look at it with Dan Denicky, who's our neighbor out there. There's a lot of property lines that kind of crisscross. We might have to define that a little better, but it's really neat to walk along the Reunion Creek, just really 3 feet away from it and hear a babbling brook. It's very calming and really a great spot. But Pam Blau is so complimentary of Gales Pond and what's out there and the opportunity to really encompass nature in a very small area. It's amazing. Also, the Marshfield Dam property. We have 40 telephone poles out in the parking lot, and there'll be 40 more coming. They're gonna put 80 posts in the ground, and they're probably 12-inch or so full utility type poles. So they're gonna be starting to work on that here pretty quick. Contractors had some family problems with a death in the family, which we respect that. But, so we're getting started on that project, and he said hopefully by the end of winter it'll be finished, so that'll be great. And switching gears a little bit, Planning Commission. We, in April, we were gonna be having Mary Riley from Michigan State Extension, and she's gonna be doing a program for all concerned on the Michigan Open Meetings Act, which I think will be important for all county, township, village officials to attend. It's about an hour and a half. We haven't set a date yet, but we will be. But Open Meetings Act has changed a little bit in the last couple of years. You might not be aware of some of the changes, but it's something that needs to be considered by all parties. So that's what I had today.
Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Anything more?
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, your turn.
Thank you. Mine's gonna be short. Good
Morning, Sheriff.
everyone. We've got 50 in our jail right now. Everything appears to be running pretty smoothly. We're making nice progress towards the scanner. We were told that it was just shipped, so it should be here anytime. So the full body scanner will be going into the jail real soon. It's kind of exciting for jail. The road guys have been busy with our seasonal type of things. We've had some slide offs during the weather. You've probably seen in the news, we had an armed robbery here just outside of Hart on Friday, late Friday evening. But the guys made 2 arrests right after that, after a real good investigation, recovered a lot of the property, and recovered the weapon. And made 2 arrests, the 2 guys that belonged to jail. And just taking it as they come. Any questions?
Good work by the department for that.
The guys did a great job.
Wow, yeah.
I stayed home and listened to it. I was on the radio listening, but they were doing great.
Wow.
Just the body scanner, what does that do for you? So you bring in,
So the biggest way to smuggle contraband into the jail is inside the human body.
Yeah.
And so the body scanner, they're gonna step up into a scanner device, a lot like you see at an airport, and it'll just take a couple seconds, and they'll step up, pull their hands up, be scanned, and come out. And we'll be able to tell if there's any inappropriate objects internal in their body. It sounds like a big city thing, but we've had several instances of it. happening right here and real recently. We had a group of women where we had some overdose situations in our jail, where a woman brought some in, and, you know, it's one of those things, without it, you just can't check for it. You can't check thoroughly.
So, you won't have to do like a regular body survey?
No, we will.
You still do?
We'll always do a body survey.
Okay,
If they're coming into our jail, one of the first things they get showered in. But showering in still
right, exactly.
doesn't cover all the bases.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you come do a walkthrough sometime, come see what
I'll take you up on that.
inside the jail looks like, and, come see what they're looking at.
You don't really want to see the inside?
Yeah, no,
It's good to know.
yeah, right, you ought to come see what it is.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come take a look.
One of the other things that it solves is a gender issue. If there's no female corrections officer,
Right.
then it just makes that a smoother process where that's been an issue in the past.
That's good, thank you.
Yes. And there's some grant monies there helping cover it, so it's not all purchased from the county, so, and then MRMA's helping, so.
MMRMA is our, Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. It's our liability insurance. We have the ability to write into them for RAT grant monies, which is 50% covered.
Yeah.
And,
It's gonna be a good
Mark
ad.
Schneider
Yeah.
took care of that, and we were able to get that money.
Yeah, that's good.
It is.
That's good.
How many women do we have on staff now then, within the corrections?
5.
5 guys?
And, they've got some really, they do a great job, they really do. And we've got more women right now than we've ever had.
I'm thinking, it was 2 at one time, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've had 2 for a long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes down to 1, but, we've got 5 right now, and they do a great job.
Good.
In all the positions, I mean, they do road patrol and whatever jobs you have.
No, I was speaking specifically of corrections.
Okay.
And
Oh,
as our
okay,
corrections
okay, I
officers.
understand.
So right now, I don't have any females in the road patrol or detective position. You know, somebody might ask me why. Well, it's been ages since I've had one apply.
Mhm.
You know, I just don't have applicants,
Right.
female applicants. If I did, I'm always interested in the best candidate.
Exactly.
And if she's the best candidate, she's the best candidate. I've got no problems about that. We have had road patrol deputies female in the past. We don't right now. Just, you know, one apply for it, they certainly consider it. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Would there be any public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll adjourn the meeting of the Properties Environment Economic Development Committee.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. McCormick,
Here.
Mr. Beggs,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here. I'd ask for a motion for approval of the meeting minutes from December 5th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Beggs, support by McCormick. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd ask for approval of the agenda.
So move.
Moved by Erickson, support by
I'll support.
Ms. Beggs. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public comment at this time for the Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, we will move on. Administrator Biard, Rothbury annexation.
So today on the regular agenda, we have a public hearing for the annexation of properties for the community center for Rothbury. And they are asking that a resolution be adopted. They did the 3 public hearings as required by law. And they are asking for that resolution to be passed today.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
if I may. I thought the village president was going to be here, but he works full-time at home, so he probably couldn't make it. The reason and the thought process behind requesting that the Rothbury Community Center be annexed into the village, it borders the village property. It's a building, the rental building, south of the Grant Township Fire Department. It used to be the Tri-County Rec, and it was an American Legion Hall at one time. And when Tri-County Rec went out, the village of Rothbury got that property, and I think it was about 18 years ago that they got the property. When the village of Rothbury had an agreement with Grant Township for police services, that building was specifically stated in there, and as was the Grant Township facility, that they would have police services there in case there was an emergency of any type. Since that has been dropped, the village would like to annex that property inside the village. So if there is a call for police services there of any type, that they feel as though that, and I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but about 3 months ago, the village of Rothbury, the sheriff and I have talked about this just a little bit, and the village of Rothbury has greatly increased the hours that their officers are working. And they feel as though that there would be a strong possibility of a quicker response time for the people, for the village of Rothbury. And the police department, if something's going on and it's locked out, the police department also has keys to that building. So they don't have to breach it or anything, they can just unlock the doors. We've had that in the past when there was a very, very big brawl there one time, and it was almost a hazmat scene by the time they got done. But what they did was they locked out all the breaker bars on the door, so you couldn't get in. But they didn't realize that the police department had keys for the door, so they came in anyway. And that's all they're looking for. They're looking, and it's nothing against any other departments. It's nothing about law enforcement. It's just that they're closer by, and they have keys and they have access. They can go right inside the building, and it's continuous with the village now.
And I'm assuming Grant and Rothbury have already gone
Pardon me?
through the approvals.
Yeah. After the
Divorce,
the police services with it. It's interesting, and we learned this when Double J Ranch was annexed into the village, that a township by statute has no voice in the property owner asking to annex their property into a village or a city. They're keeping the politics out of it. Maybe the legislature did that right, so generally they know what's going on, and there's been a discussion, but they can't trump it and stop it.
Understood. Any other questions or comments?
What are they using the building for now then?
It's a rental hall, and it's rented.
Still the rental hall?
It's a rental hall, and I believe last year it was rented 40 some weekends out of the year. It's a money loser for the village. They don't generate enough money to keep the power, and not the power, but keep it heated all winter long and stuff, because it's a pole barn and it's not insulated well. But the village is committed to having that available. So, but that's what it is. It's a rental hall. There's actually 2 rooms in there. There's a large one and a small one, and they're separated by a doorway. So.
Great. Thank you for that. All right, Administrator Biard, Board of Commissioners meeting schedule.
I have prepared a list of the Board of Commissioners meeting schedule after we had a discussion with regards to the equalization, because that is That date is actually on the 15th, which is in between. That's something that we'll have to discuss, once we get closer to that, if the board wants to have a special meeting, or if they want to continue on with the schedule we have and adopt that at the meeting prior to that. However you wanna handle that.
If I may, Mr. Hardy,
Yes, please.
there are several counties, probably the majority of them, that do not have that meeting on the 15th. You know, and Ed has said that that is a mandatory thing. Did you ever hear from the tax
No.
tribunal?
No, they never emailed me
Never
back, they never
responded
responded to my
But
email.
I can tell you the counties that border us don't have their meeting for the tax reasons.
So we could do it on the 10th, as far as we know right now, then.
That's when just about everybody does it.
Yeah.
But I think I would agree with the administrator, if we find that we absolutely have to do it,
Then, yeah.
we can have a quick enough meeting for one item.
And then the only other difference, you know, our November meeting, we have one meeting in November,
Mhm.
and then the December meetings are the first and third rather than the second and fourth.
And was the website updated to, with this, or it has not been?
Not yet,
Right.
we were waiting for that, to get that approved.
Right.
And then they were going to take care of that.
Great. Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, moving on. We're gonna pick on you again. Board of Commissioners appointment for District 2.
So, as all of you know, Phil Morris was, elected again for the District 2 position. He has sent in a letter to the county clerk stating that he is resigning from that position, and therefore, the Board of Commissioners need to, appoint for that position again.
Do we have anybody in mind?
I don't know. Maybe we need to take some applications, do some interviews.
Oh, no.
No.
We should ask the
We wanna
current
do
guy
that
if he's
again.
willing to run.
Yeah, that'd be the best
I
place.
got a glimpse into this
You know,
train wreck, I'm out.
I am going to tell you, after yesterday, and you'll know later why, I'm not interested in any interviews or any applications or anything else right now.
I don't blame you a bit.
Great.
Therefore, I have a motion on the agenda to reappoint Mr. McCormick.
And he hasn't denied, so.
Not yet, he
we're
hasn't.
good.
Well, would he accept if he's?
We're hoping.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Lisa, Council on Aging, Specialized Services, 2024-154.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So our annual specialized services operating assistant needs to be signed, to get the money from MDOT for continuing the transportation program.
And Bob, that was emailed to you.
Yeah, it's an email signature on this one.
Super. Anybody have any questions, comments? Thank you. Administrator Biard, Lakeshore Regional Entity Oversight Policy Board appointment.
In your packet is a letter from the Lakeshore Regional Entity. They're requesting that the appointment for the Oversight Policy Board be made at this meeting, and they are requesting that Mr. Walker be reappointed to that position.
May I, Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
That is the meetings that are held quarterly down in Holland, and that is the oversight for community mental health for Kent, Allegan, Muskegon, Oceana, Lake, Mason, Newaygo, and I believe that's all the counties. But they oversee the major expenditures. I think it's in the area of $90 million or so. And if anybody else would like the opportunity to serve on that board, go to Holland to serve on that board. You raise your hand, you can have your chance.
You quit Ottawa County.
You'd quickly get a letter disinviting me if I.
Oh, you know, all of the members of that board are not county commissioners. There are, some of them are people from the public that are appointed to represent the county board. And generally, it's a very good meeting. The chair of that board is a very successful attorney from Grand Rapids, and he runs a very, very good meeting. And it's a pretty dynamic staff that they have. When you have that much money that's going to, it's pretty dynamic staff.
That is, convention and facilities, tax money that we receive from the state of Michigan. It used to be 50% of that money went toward, Lake Shore for substance abuse services, and now it's down to 40%. So, that money comes into the county. Once that does, then 40% of that goes back to the Lake Shore Regional Entity.
And there's other funding that they get for it too.
Yeah.
If you see, excuse me, if there are any major federal grants, they funnel them through there.
Well, I'm certainly pleased that our most senior commissioner is willing to take that position.
You know, at times,
And I didn't mean age-wise, I just meant.
at times, Mr. Hardy, there are people that make things happen, and there are people that watch things happen, and sometimes you sit there and you wonder what just happened. And when they talk about that much money, and all of the players, you know, you throw Kent and Allegan County in there.
Oh, yeah.
And Kent, Allegan, and Ottawa County are probably the largest tax bases in West Michigan.
Right.
Each one of them are tied in there.
We're happy you're willing to do that.
Country boy goes to town.
There you go. All right, moving on, Administrator Biard, Administrator's review of selected claims for payment and Administrator's report.
So the claims for payment have been, provided for you. Does anybody have any questions on those?
I have a question on just one. Maybe the sheriff, I saw that we had 2 claims for payments for repairs from affordable auto Walicki. I would imagine Walicki probably was a crash or some type of car deal or something. Yes. But the other one from affordable auto for $12,250, was that a mechanical thing on the vehicle? Yeah.
I believe it was, yes.
Okay. Yeah, you know, and that's, I just, as you're aware, when we went to Enterprise Fleet Rental, that was the type of thing we wanted to avoid. You know, that we turn them over before too many miles so we don't get those.
Right.
Sometimes they're gonna happen anyway, I understand that.
And if we're aware of it, we have to fix it before we can turn it back in, so.
They have to be repaired before to turn back in?
We can't turn it in with a known deficit on their vehicle, we have to. Yes.
So we should be looking at some type of maybe getting new ones quicker.
And the one from Walicki was a car deer accident, and that was submitted after we received reimbursement from MMI.
And the bottom line is, it's amazing there's not more of those.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty.
Yeah.
Mr. Hart.
Yes, Mr.
I will just note that it says various repairs, so that could be multiple vehicles, would be my guess. Does Affordable do any body work, or does that all go to Wolf?
No, it's all by bid. So
Okay,
they
gotcha.
do have some,
So
they've gotten some of our body work as
There
well.
could be some body work, there could be a couple of mechanics.
And I'm not being critical here at all, Sheriff. We're gonna have maintenance, you know. But we had talked, and that there is an ideal time that, you know, we should, you know, be rotating those things too.
I got another question.
Yes, Mr. Biggs.
I see $4,000 city of, under prosecuting attorney, City of Ludington for extradition case.
Yep, I had just received an email back from Heather, and Mr. Walker had the same question. She stated that they had received funds from another agency to extradite, to do an extradition for someone, and they didn't end up doing the extradition, so they had to pay the money back.
Oh.
So that's just a reimbursement where services weren't rendered.
I was trying to figure out why it costs $4,000 to get somebody from the city of
Well,
Lebanon.
and my question was that if it was our sheriff's department who was holding the warrant, or if it was MSP, they wouldn't be using Ludington,
Right.
a city police department, a municipal agency to do it at all.
I really would guess that it was a cent warrant out of Electric Forest, and so cent, that their fiduciaries out of Ludington, LP, they're out of Ludington City.
Sure.
So I'm almost sure this is something to do with cent and an extradition from somebody from Electric Forest.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
And then, we received notification here recently that, we needed to go through a training with the state of Michigan for, a survey that we're providing court information, talking about, the different courts that we have in our system, and the state's doing some collection of data, and so everyone in my office went through that training with the exception of Brittany, because it pretty much has to do with payroll, and they're wanting our cost allocation plan, and they're wanting our budget book, and a ton of information. So they were going through all of that with regards to the software that we're gonna have to use to upload all this information for them. So it's information from my office along with the court. So we're all involved in, because they're trying to get some answers as to staffing levels and costs and those types of things. If anything will ever come out of it, I don't know, but did you have a question?
Totally different topic when you get done.
Can I revisit one discussion I just had an epiphany here on the affordable auto charge? That would either be a vehicle that the county owns, not an enterprise vehicle, or a body repair, because just above that, any maintenance on an enterprise vehicle gets billed to enterprise. So that affordable line would either be a body repair or a county owned vehicle. So
It could very well be.
yeah, because if it's an enterprise vehicle getting a brake job, that gets billed to enterprise.
They cover that maintenance.
And so that's the line just above it for 23,977, that type of, so it's an even bigger number, but that's leasing, maintenance and repairs to enterprise, so that, it doesn't give perfect clarity, but it clarifies a little more to that affordable line.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Would you allow me, the sheriff, to help us out a little bit on something that we had? Lexpool LLC, we're seeing bills coming through from them, and they're a training consortium for training. Sheriff, do you mind, Mr. Hardy, if the sheriff comes up and explains real quick what type of mandatory things we have down from the state now for his office, for his road officers that they have to take? And when we see those bills come through?
Absolutely. So Lexipol is a vendor that provides this online training that we are now mandated. For 2024, we had, for 2025, it's 24 additional hours for 2024. In moving forward, it's 24 hours. For this year, it was 12 hours that we had mandated on us in several areas. Ethnic awareness, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of things that are mandated for all law enforcement agencies. So Lexipol is a provider that they can do this online, so all the deputies can do their online courses, and then those courses are forwarded to MCOLS so that we get the appropriate credits, so that all the deputies have the training that they are required to have. We're getting money through MCOLS to cover our subscription, supposed to be to cover our subscription for each officer that we have assigned in Lexipol for their training. Does that help?
I heard from one of the guys from Muskegon County that you sit there for 2 hours and watch videos and listen to the videos, and then you have to take a test on it, and you have to get an 80% on the test to pass it through, and they only give you 2 opportunities to take the test. And I don't know about your road guys, but this road guy from Muskegon County, it wasn't the highlight of his career to have to sit there for 12 hours now, or
It's
24
not.
hours next year to do it.
It's not, and next year's gonna be more, so we, just yesterday, myself and Lieutenant Mosley, he's taken Shane's spot. Shane's retired now, but we were working towards getting our annual in-service hours, getting some of those hours applied towards this 25 as well, to cut down on that number that we have to set through those in-service training hours.
Wow.
Some of it is, some of it's tough to listen to. It's hard to stay attuned, and then you're gonna have a quiz at the end of it too, so it's really great.
If you gotta fight nice.
Pretty much, yeah, yep. There's a whole list that they require of us, and so we've got no say in the matter on several training items that we have to be trained up on, and then other things that we can, there's electives that we can be involved with as well.
And thank you, Sheriff. I just think it's important for the whole board to know the things that your road guys have to go through, and the things that the hoops they got. Administration has to set it up, and they've got to go through it, even to retain their licensing in Michigan, though.
Right. Every certified officer's gotta go through it, so it's all, you know, you'll see guys sitting around, you might see them on the expressway staring at their computer, well, they're probably taking an online course, really, or, but you see a lot of them, they'll be sitting around the back room, and they can't do it as a group, they all have to do it individually, they're logged in under their own password, and, they get credit for it, and it goes to their MCOLS training record, so, it's important stuff there.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Thank you, Sheriff.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes,
getting back to our enterprise agreement with those leased vehicles, Mr. Walker and I had some conversation about that, you know, the right time on trade and making sure that it's to the county's advantage. And Tracy communicated to Enterprise, and we discussed that, looked at the mileage, and Enterprise assured us that they look at that and make sure that we trade at the most opportune time for the county. Whether they do or not, I don't know, but we did have the conversation, and they said that they look out for us that way.
And my fleet manager, if you don't mind, my fleet manager keeps track of those miles on each of the cars, and knows the status of them, and knows what's the next one to get cycled out, and who gets the next new one, and so we're trying to stay on top of it and make it.
appreciate that,
Yeah, I can remember, Sheriff, and I'm sure you do too. There were certain cars that came out, the transmissions you were replacing at every 30,000 miles.
Yeah.
There was other ones, the intercoolers were going on
Mm-hmm.
on the V6 engines, that you had to have major surgery done on them and stuff. So we're not going to avoid it.
No, we're not. But you know, also, when I was on the road, I was driving a Crown Vic, and I had 188,000 miles on it, and that car was loose as a goose. You know, if you weren't used to driving it like this, you wouldn't like driving like that. But, we made our vehicles much, much safer.
more reliable.
Okay,
Yes.
Just a couple other things on my administrator's report. I wanted to point out that, we know our legislators are going through lame duck right now. I'm trying to keep you up to date on what's being passed through, because they're pushing quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I will do my best to keep you, informed on that information. You see, they did talk a little bit, they did do something with the septic.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and revise that as well. So, and then the other thing I had was, the clerk had asked about the directories. And we are currently doing those every 2 years right now because of the commissioner's terms. But now that you've switched to 4 years, they're wanting to know if the directory should be done every 4 years, or if you wanna continue to do them every 2. And I just wanted to point out that throughout that 2-year process, there are quite a few changes when it comes to appointments to boards and different things like that, so. I'm
And,
just saying-
and the representatives are still on a 2-year cycle as well.
Yeah,
So-
so it may be beneficial to keep it on a 2-year cycle.
Mr. Hardy, I was just gonna ask Amy with her experience, what her thoughts were on that.
Yeah.
Do you think they ought to be every 2 years?
Because as soon as we get them printed, there's a change
Yeah.
immediately. I don't see a problem with staying with the 2-year.
Well, and almost updated annually. You know, but the only thing I ask is we get the Tin Man right. That's all I want.
Somebody reverse the negative?
You didn't see that? Oh, there's printed and everything.
Yeah.
I saw the Tin Men at the electric force and it wasn't real clear to me.
Well, and the other thing, and Amy can speak to this a little bit, when we were talking about when she was trying to get it printed and the difficulties in getting quotes back and
It's
that
it's
kind of
hard.
thing,
I
so-
mean, there's very, very few vendors out there that are willing to take this task on, and it's expensive.
Yeah, well, I was kind of in on that and aware, privy to the entire print process, and yeah, it wasn't easy.
Kind of interested in later on, I mean, maybe not right now, but would that be something that could just be posted online through the county website? And not be
It
printed?
is.
Yeah.
It is
Well, I know, but
online.
I'm just saying, do we need a
So-
paper copy as
It's-
well?
There are so many people out there that like to have that in
Yeah.
their pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really handy. It's just a handy thing, and the size is nice, and it's got everything in it, cell phones, emails, everything. But it changes
Immediately.
sometimes monthly.
Well, and I know part of it, if I look up something, and I have a couple of them at home, but I typically just go online.
And the directory
It's
online,
quicker for me, I mean.
yeah, the directory online is updated with the changes,
Right,
where the paper copy,
so as
It's not.
technology
But
advances.
there's also a lot of, we don't have total broadband coverage in the county yet either.
You know,
There are some people that, it's getting
How-
better.
How many of those that get printed?
oh, I want to say we did, oh gosh, I don't even remember now. I think we did 500 last year, or last time. I think.
And who printed them?
Spectrum printers.
See, they went on county too. But there's very few alternatives in county now,
Mhm.
for Mary to get something built.
And I know it's expensive, I mean, especially for that few, you know, 500, by the time you get all the press work set up, it's a major expense. Okay,
No, the only other thing I wanted to say is, Merry Christmas to all of you. The meat and cheese box is from my husband and I, so Merry Christmas
Thank
to all of you.
Merry Christmas to you, thank you.
Thank you.
all right, any department head reports at this time? Yes, Gary, I was All right, moving on. Any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, we will adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee, and the regular board meeting will be at 11:30.